Dr. Deb Butler, and you are listening to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 309. Welcome to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life, and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned. Well, hello, all my dear friends all over the world. Just in case you were wondering, this is about my 10th time of saying this. And I'm laughing because this is going to be my last time. And I'm also thinking that everything that I've done up till now has not been what you've needed to hear. And now I'm telling you exactly what you need to hear. And that's the way I'm thinking about it since it's my 10th time of recording this. But this is what I want to share with you today. I actually have one of my clients on today to share with you her story of working with me. It has a lot to do with learning how to say no. And this whole people-pleasing thing that seems to come up so much with so many of you. And by learning how to say no, not only is she losing weight, but she really is changing her life. So what I want you to do is I want you to sit back, relax, take a walk, take a bath, whatever it is you do, and listen to this very special interview that I have with Anne. And I'll get back on in the end and say a few words. Hi, Anne. Welcome to my podcast.
Hi, Deb. It's really good to see you, talk to you.
It's really good to see you too, because like a lot of people don't realize that actually when we do our calls, we're not on video. We're just on a regular phone call.
Yeah. So it's good to see your face. Yeah.
Really good to see your face too. One of the things that when I asked you to come on here, one of the many reasons why I wanted to ask you is because number one, so many aha moments that you had as you were working. And I even did a podcast on you on people pleasing that I want to talk about today. And also, I think that for you, you work in an environment where you're around a lot of people. And I just love your little lessons and how it all connected to food. So if we could start by just saying, where were you before you hired me in terms of this area of eating and your body and your experiences with people? Where were you?
Okay. Yeah. I think I've been overweight for a long time now, pretty much my adult life. I wasn't as a child, but my adult life, I've kind of struggled with food, been on a million, every single diet. If you named it, I've done it.
Yeah.
And never really, maybe had some success, but not long-term, certainly. Yeah. And in terms of eating, I would try to kind of control it, but it would always kind of go off the rails. And I just really would eat a lot to not deal, I guess, with feelings. On some level, I knew that, but I could never really put it together. I would just sort of always say, well, I knew I was avoiding feelings, let's say. I sort of understood that on some level, but I couldn't really make any headway with stopping that behavior.
So basically, before we met, you had just been on lots and lots of diets, probably lost weight, gained weight, lost weight, gained weight. And then what was it? Because when you and I were getting together, you were in a place where you felt like you really just couldn't control yourself around food. And
pretty much, yeah. And I definitely was at a point where I felt like I had to give up dieting. I really knew that. But to me, that meant trying or accepting the weight I was, and that I would probably gain more weight. And I just really had to give up on all of it. And that was really struggling with that.
Okay.
Trying to accept that I would just be overweight, because I'm still overweight, but I was more overweight just significantly, and how that affected me negatively. But sort of understanding that dieting wasn't going to ever work, but not being able to, like I said, accept giving it up, because then what does that mean?
So it sounds like before we started working together, you had just decided I'm going to try and accept myself just as I am because
Yep.
I don't think I can lose weight because I'm not going on another diet.
Yeah. Yeah. Diets for me always ended with I would do well. I
Oh
would be
yeah.
really structured,
Oh
really,
yeah.
I'd have a plan. I'd make my plan at the beginning of the day. I'd follow it. But there would come a time where I couldn't and I couldn't do it. And then I would just start eating and eating and and eating and not really feel out of control. And I was starting to wonder if maybe dieting was causing that out of control feeling. And so maybe I should, but it was just a big mess that was never going to get better. So
Good for people to hear. It just seemed like a big
yeah.
mess and it was never going to get better. So that's where you
Yep.
were before we
Yep.
started.
Yes.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. You were listening to my podcast.
Yeah. I had found your podcast and I had only listened to a few of them,
Yeah.
but what you were saying, and I did go back and I started listening to the ones from the beginning,
Yeah.
instead of just kind of diving in where I was. And it really was making sense to me. And I felt like it was a very, very spontaneous, like I just reached out to you and I was like, we set up a mini session.
Yep.
And it was really spontaneous. Because sometimes if I think about it too much, I'll talk myself out of it. So
for everybody listening to this, listen to what Anne said, that if you feel inspired, because I think what happened is it was spontaneous because you were inspired to want to talk to me and you didn't want to give yourself
absolutely.
a lot. You didn't want to give yourself a lot of time to talk yourself
To
out of
talk
it.
myself out of it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What you were saying, and I can't remember specifically what it was about, that it just was making sense to me. And I was like, maybe this is different. Maybe this is something that I can find out more about. So,
yes.
Yeah.
So we got on the call, and at that time, you had decided that you were going to go all in and do it.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
After
on
we
that
talked,
call.
On that call. Yeah. I just said, and I remember we talked about you were starting like a group, but I really was like, I think I just need to deal with my issues. So I went for just to work with you and I didn't do the group. And I think that was a great decision for me because sometimes I am a people pleaser and I know how I am in a group. I wouldn't speak
We're
up.
going to talk a lot about that.
I wouldn't say what I needed. So,
So you decided to spend more money because working individually. Yeah. So you decided to invest in yourself and spend more money because it's not cheap. And
it was worth it.
It was worth it. And we'll say more about how it was worth it. But what I want people to know about you as they're starting to talk is, number one, there's probably a lot of people listening who get that feeling inside of themselves. Like, I think this is different and I think I should do this.
Yeah.
And you went with that feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't mess around. Right. You didn't mess around.
I did not. No.
You booked a mini session. You didn't say, I'm going to think about it for 100 years. For people who are listening to this and say, well, I don't know about that. It's pretty expensive. I'll get back to you. You said, yes.
Yes.
I'm all in.
I'm all in. Yeah. Yeah. After we talked, I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. And it was in October, I think, or September, we were talking and it was going to start a couple weeks later. And I thought it would be good because the holidays are coming up and
we work during the holidays. We got to talk about that.
I just knew that a lot of stuff would come up because it just does. So yeah, it was good. You're right. Like something spoke to me and sometimes you just get that feeling and you just have to kind of go with it.
And I think you've learned that a lot as we have worked together, how to really trust yourself with that feeling.
Yeah.
Right. As we start getting into trying to please other people, but knowing what we really want for ourselves and being able to go for it, that's part of what we're talking about here. And the beginning of making that decision of working with me was kind of trusting your own feelings,
right,
and going with it. I just want everybody to hear that for you, because as I talk to you more and more, people are going to see how you even more and more connected to that in yourself. Yeah. Now, this all has to do with eating and food journals. And yet the things that came up for you had nothing to do with eating.
Right. Very much so. Yeah.
So that's like what I want to talk about.
Surprising to you, I'm sure.
And for the people who are listening to this, because you came on when you started working with me, before you started working with me, you really believed that you were just going to have to be overweight. Yeah. You weren't going to go on a diet. You just really wanted to learn how to accept yourself.
Yeah.
Without dieting.
Yeah.
Right. And now I
remember that first call just being like, I thought I had really damaged myself. Like I really remember being, I cannot tolerate hunger now. And I thought that was from all the dieting I had done. And I
Uh-huh.
was like, I can't be hungry. I can't. And you were just like, okay, calm down. It's not about that. You're telling yourself a story. And that was like the first, okay, all right.
Right. So what you're saying is in the beginning, you were afraid you were going to go hungry.
Yes. And that's what I was just like, I can't be on a program where it's really restrictive, where
Yeah.
I get hungry, because even though, I mean, obviously hunger is a natural bodily function. You get hungry, you eat.
That's right.
But I was very afraid of it because in my head, all that dieting I had done, when I felt hunger, I would just feel deprived. I thought that might be the driving force behind my overeating.
Do
I
you think
sort
it,
of
I
told
think it
myself,
was? Do you think it, I
yeah,
mean, yeah, I
I
think you're
do.
right.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people when I first start working that they're really afraid, just like you were, to actually be hungry. Like
Mm-hmm.
you would eat before you got really hungry in the beginning and
Right.
then overeat. I remember that now. It's funny how these things come
Yeah,
back.
I know. Because that's one of the first things. And I remember learning that really quickly, like in my first session. And then I started keeping food journals that first session and really figuring out what eating between the twos meant and what that meant to even eat a little bit more began to feel really uncomfortable to me. And that was such a surprise to me that it was, you don't have to be full to
Or
stop
what is
eating.
full? What is
Yeah,
full?
yeah, yeah. Or just like, because you've always eaten this and it was enough. Maybe that's why I don't feel good. I always had like heartburn and indigestion, and it was really from eating too much. Like it
No,
sounds silly now when you talk
you
to me
do
about it
know.
because it's like, but it didn't take long to figure that
It did
out.
not.
Once you write it down and you're paying attention, if you're hungry or if you're not, are you full? Are you done eating? Are you not? Are you at a +2 or a +3 or, whatever? And I think just being really sort of objective and honest about it and not judgmental about it. That was the other thing. You were always so reassuring about like, just be curious about it. Don't judge it. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't be like,
You think you
oh,
were a
I,
little
over,
hard
I,
on
I
yourself?
blew it again,
You think you're a little hard on yourself to begin with?
Oh, yes, clearly, clearly. Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
And so it
Hmm.
was really hard to learn anything. And I do remember, and I think I did a podcast, I did a few podcasts on you. I loved my sessions with you. I learned so much from you as a client that I think like on our second session or our third session, you just said to me, I can't believe how uncomfortable I used to be because I was overeating all the time and didn't even know
Yeah.
I was overeating. And that once you
Yeah.
learn the twos, and it didn't take you that long. Everybody's
It really
different.
didn't.
So I would say, like by the third session, you did not want to go beyond a +2, not because you wanted to deprive yourself. It's you just didn't like the feeling.
I didn't like the feeling. Once I really paid attention,
Yeah.
and I don't like that feeling full. And sometimes I eat, I think we all do this. I eat a little too fast. And then so I eat past the two. And then I'm
Uh-huh.
like, I got to slow down and really, because I just don't like that feeling of being even a little too full. I don't like it.
I think everybody listening to this, sometimes like people will say, oh, that seems so hard. And how do you
Yeah,
know? And it doesn't seem like it was that hard for you to connect to what your twos were.
it really wasn't, which I will say it does surprise me because it's a little bit, I mean, I don't know how to say this, but this is my body. Like, how did I not know that? I don't know. But once I started paying attention to it and what I really physically felt like, it was very clear. And I think going back to the dieting stuff, I think sometimes when I allowed myself food that I liked, I would overeat it because there was that sense of, I'm not going to ever eat it again, or tomorrow I'm back on track. So
Yes.
there was overeating for that too. And, but
Everybody
yeah, I
listen to
think,
this. I'm just stopping you for a minute because I had the same problem.
yeah,
And you're just making us all aware that as you started learning your own hunger scale and learning how to
yeah,
eat between the twos, you also started learning why you were eating when you weren't hungry.
yeah, which that was hard too. That was hard. And I don't think I ever couldn't really see it initially. Like I could know generally. I know things happened at work a lot at first. And I'd be
Yeah.
like, well, I know I was upset at work, but I couldn't really pinpoint it more than that. It was just like, oh, it's busy at work or I'm frustrated but talking to you and kind of really sorting through it all was really helpful to just suddenly see where it was all coming from, where that stress and pressure and basically just not dealing with what I wanted and what I was feeling in that moment and depriving myself made me really overeat later on.
Right. So once you started learning how to eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full, and you started getting your twos together.
Yes.
Then you also started noticing when you were eating when you weren't hungry. That was like the next step. We started really looking at emotions. And I remember our first call was all on you telling me that you said, well, I really don't eat lunch at work. I go, are you hungry? And you go, yeah, but I can't eat. And I said, well, why can't you eat? And you go, well, because there won't be anybody around to help. And I don't want to put anybody out. And I don't want to have to leave a room because then nobody will know. I mean, you were worried about what all the rest of your colleagues, what was going to happen if you ate lunch.
Yeah, if I left my desk.
Yeah, if you left your desk.
Went someplace to eat. Yeah.
Even though you had a lunch hour, you had a lunchtime, everybody had a lunchtime, but you were so afraid of somebody else not liking the idea of you leaving.
Right. I think, I was always waiting for it to slow down, to not be busy.
So you wouldn't put anybody else out?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Nobody else would be put out, or
even though everybody else was eating lunch.
Yes.
So nobody else was going hungry. Nobody else was going hungry.
I really truly believed that. I really did. I believed that people would be upset if I said, I'm going to go elsewhere and eat my lunch.
I'm hungry and I'm going to go eat lunch.
It's
part of my contract and it's what we do.
Yeah.
As human beings is we eat when we're hungry. Yeah. Like that would be shocking.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I thought. That's what I told myself.
Okay.
Yes.
And everybody who's listening to this has the same type of stuff going on in their head. And so therefore, during that time is you just let yourself go hungry and told yourself to be quiet and don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so our first call was all about you telling me I'm a people pleaser. I go, I totally get that you are. It showed up number one
immediately,
first time. And fast forward just a couple sessions that I did another podcast on. We got on the call after maybe 3 calls and you were already starting to feel so much better in your own skin because you weren't overeating. And then you said to me, well, guess what? I'm really proud of myself. And I thought like, oh, wow, she probably didn't eat a cookie when she wanted one or something like that. And you said, you're so proud of yourself. I go, why? And she says, well, I quit my job.
Yeah.
So if you would, I mean, so third session, she's starting to see that she's a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And you get on the phone, you go, you know what? I quit my job. So if you want to just say, I mean, I'm not advocating that people just get on and do big things and do big things. But I think what I'd like you to say is the inspiration that came to you at that time from our coaching on eating when you're not hungry, stopping when you're full, and pleasing other people, and either eating when you're not hungry or eating when you are hungry, or not eating when you are hungry. Led to you quitting your job. Say something about that, please.
Well, okay. So I have wanted to quit my job for a long time now, for a couple of years.
And why didn't you quit it?
Because I really enjoy the people I work with. They're great people. I like working with them. And I didn't want to leave them short. I didn't want to disappoint them. I didn't want them to be upset if I left. You know, we have a really tight group, and
so let's just say, so let's just say that the only reason you were at your job is to make sure nobody else was upset with you. Okay.
I mean,
not because you needed the money. I mean, only because these are nice people and you didn't want them upset with you.
I didn't want them upset. Yeah. I like them. You know, I care about them a lot.
Absolutely.
I didn't want them to be upset. Yeah.
And there's so many people listening to this, probably relating to it. So what made you decide to actually talk to the boss or whatever, and how that happened?
I also remember that first conversation where we were talking a lot about my work, and I was so fixated on this thought that I couldn't eat. And I was trying to explain to you why, because we're so busy and we're so this. And when it finally, I don't remember even how you worded it, how it came out, but it was like, you basically were like, so you think you can control what everybody is thinking. You were saying you think that you can make somebody angry, make somebody upset, make somebody whatever. You were just like, you don't have that much power. You have to take care of yourself. And what if your coworker went and took a lunch? Would you be mad? Just all of that. And I do remember just really being like, having that realization that I don't have that power. I'm not responsible for everybody who I'm in contact with to be happy, to be
Oh,
okay,
really?
feel good. And I don't even know if I was conscious of that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
But that's what I was doing. I don't like people to be upset. I don't like confrontation. So I was just doing whatever I could to keep everybody okay. And nobody asked me to do that. My coworkers never sat there and said, okay, nobody's going to eat lunch anymore. Like, of course not. I just had it in my head that this is the way it was, that I didn't want people to be. And I didn't want the kids. Like, I didn't like that idea of the students because I'm a school nurse. And so there's always students coming in at a high school. And I really didn't like the idea of students being there and me walking away and saying, I'm going to go eat my lunch. Like, would they be mad? Would they be upset? And to be honest, there's never a time when there's not a student in the office. Like, you have to just walk away.
That's why
like,
you never ate.
It's just the way it is. Exactly. So there was just something in that realization, that just really understanding that it's not my responsibility to make other people feel good. And once I realized that, I did think my coworkers would be disappointed that I was quitting.
Yeah, they might be.
But I also had to do what was best for me.
Well,
and I knew that that's what was best for me.
And they probably were disappointed.
They were, I'm sure, initially, but then they're like, they care about me. We all care about each other, and they want me to be happy, I'm sure. And we're just like, okay.
And who cares if they want you to be happy
Maybe
or
they
not?
hate me. I don't know.
I know. That's like the whole thing is we're all talking is that it's like when you know what you want and you're so worried about what other people want that you don't get what you want. And when everybody is listening to this podcast, there was a lot of eating going on around these issues of almost resentment of not getting what you wanted.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I remember at work being angry, sometimes being really just upset because I felt like I was constantly working really hard and trying to take care of everything. And maybe somebody else wasn't working that hard and I would resent them. And just kind of that realization that she can work the way she wants to work. I'll work the way I want to work. It's okay. I can still leave her to go get my lunch, even though she works a little slower and the kids won't be seen as quickly. It's okay.
Even though she doesn't do it the way you want her to do it or the way you think she should do it.
Yeah. That's sort of eye-opening too, is that I don't always have the answer, or I don't, I might have the answer for me, but I don't have it for my coworkers. Like, they are okay. They're allowed to do things the way they want to do them.
Isn't that nice of you to let them be the way, be who they are and do what they want?
Crazy. And it sounds like I'm sort of like this very arrogant, like, I'm in charge, but it wasn't really like that. It was all under the surface, just like this belief that I was carrying around, that I controlled how people felt. I wanted everybody's workday to be good, and I was going to be a part of that.
You were going to make sure everybody's workday was good by making sure that you would do whatever it took and give whatever you needed, to us to think that you were holding everybody else up.
Right, and then the person that doesn't get anything would be me, and so then of course I'd be like resentful and show up at home starving and irritable and eating everything. So, yeah.
And so, like on the third or fourth call, you quit your job. And had a nice conversation with your boss. And I would imagine, I think you're ending up at the end of the year is when you said you would be leaving. So
probably, I said I would work through the end of the year. So I still have a couple months left. Yeah.
How did it feel for you to do that for yourself, to do what you wanted? I mean, there was no reason you wanted to be in that job. I mean, for people, they don't want to leave their jobs for all kinds of reasons. But for you, and I think for everybody else to see this, sometimes, I mean, it might not be leaving your job. It could be leaving a marriage. It could be not wanting to be friends with somebody. It could be anything. But when you're so focused on the other person, as opposed to being focused on yourself, I think what you learned, Anne, is what it is you want in your life. And by the third session, you go, you know what? I don't want to be working this job. It's like all of a sudden you started going, what do I want?
Right. And I don't want this. Like, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. And I'm still not, but I knew I didn't want to do that. And it was like, I just can't do this anymore. I don't want to do it. And it was talking to my boss, I was a little anxious before the conversation, but she understood. She 100% understood it and was fine with it. And once I did that and I gave my notice, so much pressure was off. And I just felt like there were parts of my job that I started enjoying again, which it wasn't like just knowing that like, okay, I don't love this, but I can do this for now.
You learn that it's your thinking that creates all your feelings anyway. And once you started changing your thinking about your job, like you're not keeping everybody happy and it's not your job to do this. And it probably was a little bit more based on your thinking anyway, but knowing that by not eating when you're not hungry and always stopping when you're full would lead to such things, such awareness and such aha moments for you is really what I want people to be aware of is that you did not hire me. People please less and take care of myself more. That is not why you hired me. You hired me because you wanted to stop dieting and you wanted to learn how to eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just as everybody's hearing this, as you were learning to do that, you also started learning how to take care of yourself and to please yourself in getting out of a job that you didn't like within the third session.
Yeah.
So saying that, what I'd love for you to tell people, I know it's so amazing. And what I would love for you to tell people now is where are you now? Before you didn't believe that you could lose weight. You just thought you would just have to be like this your whole life. And now what do you think?
Yeah. Well, now I see that it is possible. I have lost weight. It's definitely not where I want to be or whatever magical goal weight I have in mind. But I have not been starving. I just
say something about that. Say something about that because that was your biggest fear is people is I just don't want to be hungry and I don't want to be starving. Have you been hungry since we've been working?
Well, no. I have been hungry, but when I get hungry, then I eat.
That's what I'm saying. Do you go hungry? Do you go hungry on purpose?
No, I feel like there's a part of me that has learned to enjoy that hunger, that feeling of like, oh, it's almost time to eat. And what do I want? And what am I going to do? And then you eat. And it really is much more satisfying when you're a little bit hungry to eat. It just tastes better. It feels better to stop before it's too full. And the whole thing has become very, I don't know if the word is easy, but it feels very natural. It feels very natural right now to eat the way I'm eating. And I like it. And I also feel like it's not a diet. I just think this is how I will eat now.
And what I want everybody to hear is that it feels natural to you and it feels easy.
It does. It does. And I remember way in the beginning, maybe it was even in our mini session where you were talking about how our bodies are designed to know how much food we need. And I just really didn't believe that. I really didn't. I just thought, well, maybe it started out that way, but I certainly messed things up along the way and I kind of broke it. I broke the body. So it's amazing to me.
Think like that.
Yeah. But it's amazing to me how quickly that has come back. Like that natural, like when I was a kid and I ate when I was hungry and I stopped and then I ate again and I stopped and there was no thought put into it. And I'm certainly not to that point where there's zero thought put into it anymore.
Neither am I.
Oh, okay.
FYI. I think we're going to be thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's okay. It's not hard. It's just very satisfying to just be done and like to not feel that sick feeling anymore. And
So you're losing weight and yet you think it feels natural and you think it feels easy.
Yeah.
So do you think you'll be able to lose the weight that you want to lose doing it like this?
I do. I don't know. This is the other thing I was going to just say. I don't know how long that will take me. I really don't, but I don't care anymore. Like that's the other thing. Dieting was always this like, okay, in 3 months, I'll weigh this. In 6 months, I'll weigh this. I'll be at my goal weight in this much time.
Yeah.
And I always put a lot of focus on that. And I really don't care anymore. I just don't care. Like I like this way of eating much better. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. So it's fine. It can take as long as it takes.
Yeah. I love that. So you're in no hurry.
I'm not. I'm really not. Well, there's no place to get to, right? Like this is where we are, right? This is where I am. This is how I eat. Today I'm a little bigger than I want to be, but it's fine. And I think that's the other thing.
What's that?
It's like when you, well, it's funny. I'm just thinking this now.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Like once you start treating your body well, and I have heard this stuff forever, like self-care and taking care of yourself, but when you're really treating your body well, like you're eating because you're hungry and you stop eating and you're not hurting yourself anymore, you feel better about your body. And even though it's still too big, in my head, it's not, I don't feel that worried about it anymore.
That
I'm not
must be
so,
lovely.
yeah. And it really is. It's just a way of being kinder to yourself is like just eating well and taking care of yourself in that way.
And the byproduct is weight loss.
And the byproduct is weight loss. Yes.
But it's
Because,
almost not
yeah,
the goal, which is just
but
kind
it's
of
not right. Exactly.
interesting.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my
So it
gosh.
feels like that part just feels really good that that there's nothing to get through. This isn't some like torturous thing. And then at the end of it, you're thin. It's just, this is the way it is. This is just how we're supposed to be living, right? But
Well, I agree with you. Yes, right. I totally agree with
right.
you. And I think with what you're saying and you're calling this self care, is that this is why I did so many podcasts on you. I hope people are I love talking to you because you have nuggets every time something comes out of your mouth.
I do.
But it's like
I'm still learning.
but from yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the best kind of self care is exactly what you're saying. And the other part of this is that you aren't judging yourself and
Right.
you're kinder to yourself. So you definitely have had times when you have had fog eats.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I
There
mean,
have
I'm
been
not
times when you have
perfect.
sent
Yeah.
you have sent me emails going, I don't think I can do it. I think I've messed
Yeah.
up too much. So say a little bit about that because that was a way back, but it happens every now and then, and you're
Yeah.
still losing weight and you still think it's easy and blah, blah, blah. So say something about that for people to
Yeah.
understand.
I am 57 years old. So
Yeah,
I've
it's good to
kind of
say.
made these, I guess they're habits, the way that I've lived my life and the way I've dealt with food and my feelings and emotions. And that's not going to change overnight. And so I still have times when I eat too much, where I think in that moment, I'm not even aware of why. I'm really not. And
Right.
then later on, sometimes talking to you or even on my own, I'll just be like, why was I eating that? It takes a lot of like backtracking and thinking. But yeah, and a few times I did reach out to you and just said, I think one time I was like, I was going to give up. I'm not doing this anymore,
Right.
but I'm writing you an email instead, and I'm going to just go write my food journal again or something.
That's what
It
you
was
did.
just,
That's what you did.
yeah. And I think that's the nice thing too, is I feel like I'm not waiting for Monday to start over. I'm not even waiting for the next day. I'm just like, okay, we're done with that. Just go on to the next meal and do whatever needs. Eat, wait till I'm hungry, have a little bit, stop when I'm at a 2, and that's it.
This is everything I teach. It's
Yeah.
like you could be teaching it for me at this point. You are a perfect example of somebody finishing my thinner peace process and speaking the words that I love to hear, but it's not coming out of my mouth. It's coming out
Yeah.
of your mouth. And I know that you believe it.
I do.
I
I
mean,
do.
I'm like
Yeah.
so happy for you.
Yeah. I'm happy. I'm in a good place. I am. I'm happy about it.
Okay. So tell me, what would you say to somebody that's listening, like you,
Mhm.
who believes what you believed that I'm never going to lose the weight and I'm never going on another diet? And if this is the way I have to stay, well, what would you say to them about working with me?
I would say if you're having that feeling, you have that gut feeling that this sounds like something that makes sense to you, like just start, just do it. It's so much easier than I thought it would be in a way. I mean, parts of it are hard when you're like going through it and trying to figure stuff out, but for the most part, it's pretty easy and it makes sense. And change is possible. Like it really is. I'm 57 years old and I'm changing the way I'm managing my feelings. And it's amazing to me. It really is. It really is.
Wow. And would you say that there have been other bonuses from doing the centerpiece process other than weight loss and other than stopping people pleasing? Because we talked about that too. But what would you
Yeah.
say was another, like a little bonus that you got that you didn't expect?
The really understanding the depths of my people pleasing was really a big one.
Yeah.
So that has been fantastic. I think realizing how much my thoughts are causing my feelings, like my feelings, whether I'm upset or whatever it is, are really
Yeah.
from what I'm thinking about a situation, what I'm
That
thinking
they're actually
about.
coming from your own head.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's really shocking when you stop and think about that. When you really get that, it's pretty eye-opening, and it's pretty amazing to think that your own thoughts are causing the feelings that are causing like an urge to overeat. That's amazing. But that's what's happening. And it's sort of happening in all parts of your life, really. My
In
life.
your life.
Yeah.
Amazing
Yeah.
things are happening in all parts of your life.
Yeah. So it's just that realization is a big one when you really kind of, and it took me a long time, I think, to wrap my head around that. It really did. Yeah.
Yeah. The stuff that we're talking about is not stuff that you were taught when you were little. So it's not anything. It's not like we didn't grow up with this stuff. We grew up thinking that our weight defined us, and that if we just ate the right way, and there was something wrong with us that we couldn't eat the right way, and our body, there was something wrong with our bodies, when in reality, nobody told us that we could have whatever we want, that all we had to do was to learn how to manage our minds, that our thoughts create our feelings, and our feelings create our actions, and actions are eating.
Yeah.
And if we're eating when we're not hungry, it's only because we're thinking. That's, I think, what you're saying right now is your thoughts create your feelings, create your actions.
Exactly. Make you eat. And I agree. You said it very well.
I love that. And so it's amazing to me to watch you go through this process. And we keep using that word amazing a lot, but it really has been to watch you go from understanding and knowing what you want and then going for it. And realizing that eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full is the best kind of self-care that you can give yourself, which is what you do. And that you've learned how to be kind to yourself.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
That's another big one. Another amazing thing.
Another big one. Yeah. Just to think that, just to be kind to myself and to just be like, that's all right. You made a mistake. No big deal.
Yes. And the whole idea, that's what I think, like when you would end up fogging, and we all do, right?
Yeah.
And nothing went wrong. I mean, nothing had gone wrong. I would say every time you had a fog or whatever, did you not learn something from it and got stronger?
Absolutely. Because there were many times where I thought, like, I just don't know. I don't think I was feeling anything. And then after talking and thinking and looking at it again, it's like, okay, there we go. I see what I did. Yeah. So I always learned from it.
Right. So I would say, as we end this, is as other people are listening to this, is that if you're open, because I think you were ready, I think you decided that this was going to be different and that you weren't going to go on another diet again, which you never have, and that you felt like if you could eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full, that would be it for you.
And if that's all that I got out of this, then that would be enough, really, to be honest. But it's just so much more than that.
And I could talk to you for ages and people could learn from you over and over. I could keep up bringing things. But for now, I just want to thank you for being brave and coming on this podcast and sharing your feelings. And not only that, being courageous in not giving up on yourself, right? Yeah. Because I think you were ready to give up on yourself until you heard my podcast.
Oh, I was. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for doing all this, working with me, but putting it out there in so many different forms. So I had the opportunity to hear it and to make that call.
Yeah.
It was life-changing. So thank you.
Everybody hear that. It's life-changing. You're hearing it from Ann.
It is.
And I was there to watch you change your life. And I'm so glad you were on. So thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you.
All right, sweetheart.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Okay.
Bye.
Well, what did I tell you? She's amazing. Everything that comes out of her mouth, it's almost like I want to take notes on her. But the thing that I think is really important that she said to you is that she let you know that she's still losing weight, that she has more weight that she wants to lose. And she knows that she's going to lose it. And she also knows that she's not in a hurry, that this is just the way that she's going to treat food for the rest of her life, that she knows that she can eat whatever she wants. And she knows there's no deprivation. And like she said in the interview, it's easy. It's not hard. I really want you to take that to heart, that this has been easier for her than anything, and that where she was before she started working with me is that she knew that she was never going to go on another diet again. And if it meant not losing weight, she just felt like that's just the way it's going to be. And when she hired me, she said, The most important thing isn't losing weight. It's being able to be at peace with food and with myself without going on a diet. And she totally accomplished that, as you heard in the interview. She is at peace and she is changing her life. And by learning how to say no and learning what she actually wants, she's not resentful anymore. And she knows what she wants and she is going after it. It's amazing. If you love the interview that I did with her and you think that you would like to be like her, you can be. All the tools that she learned, I do teach on my podcast, all of them. So if you are just starting to listen to me, you can always go back to the first podcast to listen to all the tools as I teach them in order, and you may just get the same results. But if you're like Anne, maybe you think that you need more help, and of course, you can always work with me by setting up a mini session and finding out if the process that I used for you, the process that I used on Anne, would work for you. And if we spend 30 minutes talking, I promise you that I will be able to tell you that, and you will know too if it's the right thing for you. So all you have to do is go to drdebbutler.com/work with me, and you can set up a mini session. And as always, before I leave, you know what I'm going to say to you. And this is something that Anne said too, is she learned that by being kinder to herself, she ended up giving herself more of what she wanted. So whatever else you do this week, please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye. If you've been loving my podcast, please, please, please subscribe. And also, please, please, please review if you're loving it. The way you heard about it is the way many people hear about it. They Google it or they look for it. And the only way that it pops up is by who reviews it. So if you're loving it, let's pass on the good word and the good news. Thank you.